Well, good morning. This is a first, and welcome to the Touring Fan Live. This is round two with Dan Mumford, and this time it's a little different. Last time, Dan was in a dark room in the night times overseas, and this time I think it's pretty, I don't even know what time it is over there.
3 p.m.
So yeah, you're like midday, good weather.
Yeah,
Um,
it's great.
I'm I'm like as soon as this meeting's over, jumping right to work. So this is a different one, but I'm really excited about this because Dan, I felt like the last interview we had, we left a lot on the table. We had a really good conversation. Um, we talked about Pearl Jam, only to know like 4 days later that you actually did a print for Pearl Jam, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But the pandemic was really just at like the height and the rave and pushing through at that point. You've done a lot of work since then. A lot of movies have come out, a lot of music's come out, a lot of things come out. And I think this was a perfect time to have you come back on. We can chit chat for a little bit and just kind of catch up and see how things have been going. But
Yeah.
before we jump in all that, let's start with an easy question. Dan, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm working. I'm in the studio. It's really cold here. It's been snowing, which is really, really rare. But generally pretty good. Yeah, not bad.
So the snow is a rare thing over there?
Oh yeah. Like we just get. I mean, look, people joke about how it just rains all the time in the UK, and it does that a lot. But predominantly, it does that a lot in the winter, more than snow. It's just kind of just gross. Yeah.
So are you like the Seattle of Europe?
I guess, yeah, sure. I don't know. I mean, I've never been to be set to Seattle, but but yeah, sure.
Well, it's interesting because I've never really looked, kept up so much with Europe before, but with my kid doing soccer and me having to most recently pick a soccer team I was going to follow, so I've been following all these games and stuff, and I'm watching the weather. And I'm like, the weather's terrible over there. Like it's consistently raining.
Yeah,
It's just like and it's so weird having to watch games like 7 in the morning and then. But it's interesting, like it's just watching the weather over there completely different than what I was expecting. I don't know. I guess
yeah.
it's just my feeble little mind assuming things and being completely wrong.
Well, do you know that's one thing I kind of like about America is that you get actual seasons. So you have the 4 seasons and they feel different. I've been in New York quite a few times in those different seasons, and each time it's completely different. Whereas London's just either sort of a bit gross and wet, or it's really hot and horrible to be there. So like there's a very sort of small slither of time when for me it's perfect, where it's just the right. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. You can walk around just in just normal clothes. I don't know why I live here. Actually, the weather's awful. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend coming to live in the States right now. I would probably stay away from here for the next at least 10 years,
Yeah.
and until some shit gets wrapped up and figured out. But it's one question I had for you that just came off the top of my head is, so when you come to the States, right, being from Europe and doing things, and I know you've been to different parts of the States too, right? Not just New York.
No. Yeah. All around.
So is it like when you come here, and I guess the States are rather new in theory to other countries, like what are your thoughts of like what you're seeing when you come to the United States?
Do you know what? So America, when you're a kid, is like this. It feels like a mythical land, right? I'd say until the age of around 17 or 18, because everything would come out there first, like video games, consoles, movies, TV shows, all the stuff that you're interested in as a kid would always be there first. And sometimes you'd be waiting like up to 6 months for it to be in the UK or whatever. Movies, it was really weird how there'd always be this huge time difference between when they would release. And that didn't really matter then because the internet was just it wasn't quite what it is now. So back when I was a kid, it was like America was, it was amazing. I was like, oh, I've got to be there. And I went a couple of times when I was younger as well. And now things are so sort of like instantaneous most of the time with the way things release, and everything's accessible from all around the world. So now America's more just sort of like a kind of huge country that I've just been to a few cities and I enjoy them, but then there's occasionally just these bouts of craziness that you're just like, what the hell's going on? Like, it's been a real weird month and potentially 4 years you could talk about. So yeah, it's an odd place at times because it's so different and yet it's so the same. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot that's similar, but there's a lot of stuff that is completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. No, listen, completely understand what you're saying. Totally on board with it. You're going with that. But it's just interesting because I talk to different people that come here for the first time and they talk about like they weren't expecting certain things, and then it's just an interesting it's crazy. So Dan, so since the last time we spoke in May, the pandemic is really, a lot of people assumed the pandemic might be over by the end of the year. They expected some things to be back to normal in 2021. We're in month 2 of 2021. It doesn't seem like concerts are really going to be a go yet. There is some shows being announced, especially on this side. There is some conventions being announced, but it's still not the same. But what I really appreciated about you and what you've been doing is you've been still putting out some amazing pieces, and you've been putting out like really quality things. You put out a puzzle, which is kind of like this new kind of kick into the pandemic. But what did you have to do as an artist to like really be like, all right, we're not getting out of this anytime soon. This is what I need to do to really adjust to what's going on.
Do you know what? I mean, I'm still adjusting to it. I think for the last, well, it's 10 months now, maybe nearly 11. For the last 10 or 11 months, it's been this constant feeling of, well, we just got to get through this month and then things will go back to normal. I think now probably quite a few people are realizing that normal is not possible for maybe years now, right? So now it's about getting to something better than what we're at now. So it does feel like I've kind of just been holding on and just pushing through each month, like just working a lot, just working as much as I can, weirdly. It's one of those things where I think I've got in the mindset of the world's in flux right now, and we're not able to do much. Every day is kind of the same a lot of the time, especially here in the UK right now. Like we're in pretty much full on lockdown again. So there's a lot of deja vu every single day, and every week's kind of the same. So just trying to keep things a little bit different. Me and my partner doing things at home just to sort of keep ourselves interested. Sometimes, playing board games and stuff that we wouldn't usually do, and I don't know, all that sort of stuff. And sort of that plus just working a lot, which is not a bad thing, but I soon I'll want to not draw ever again. Yeah.
Isn't it kind of interesting though how this pandemic has made us kind of like step back in time a little bit where it comes to board games and puzzles, and like I said, listen, and I don't know if you followed, but I tried doing a puzzle for about 6 weeks. 6 weeks. And first of all, I did this very dark Pennywise puzzle, and I got to the point where I took the puzzle and burnt it because I couldn't do it. I have
that seems appropriate for Pennywise to just burn the puzzle,
burn the damn thing. Yeah, it was just, dude. I got so frustrated with it. It sat and it took up my whole kitchen table, and of course, I got like this 2,200 piece puzzle, which was the stupidest thing for someone who never done a puzzle before to do. But and but I see that. But you just recently did a puzzle, which was it was the end of times, I believe.
I just called it "This is the end," I think. Yeah,
this is the end, and it was like with 500 and something pieces, which is
something like that. Yeah,
very doable in retrospect to 2000. But it's crazy how many artists, which is smart, that took into like, hey, listen, I have this artwork, people love it, let's turn it into a puzzle because that's what people are doing, and they're doing really well, which is genius. Was that your idea, or did someone approach you to do that?
No, I was invited to do that. It was the Secret Puzzle Club. It's been around, I can't remember how long it's been around for. But yeah, I was just invited to sort of submit a piece to that, and they took care of everything on that end actually, which was really nice. So it's quite an easy process for an artist like myself, and they've got some amazing artists and other puzzles in that set. I think there's quite a few now. I can't remember how many there are. There's a lot, and there's some really nice ones. And yeah, like it's just it's a nice extra thing to do for sure.
Well, yeah, it's like I said, it's kind of during before the pandemic, everyone was always rush and bush, go out. I mean, I'm a prime example of that. Consistently doing everything, never being at home. And when the pandemic hit and we had to kind of like slow down and you second guess, like, well, is it worth doing this? Because potentially something could happen. You kind of like, board games became a thing at the house, and I tried a puzzle. So all these things came about, which was interesting how you slow down, you just kind of start appreciating things and doing things differently, and it's crazy. But yeah, the puzzle thing was an interesting, interesting thing. So let me get into, I want to get into the Pearl Jam piece first, and then I want to dig deep into some of the other stuff. So the last interview we did, we had talked about, and I actually went and listened to the interview again because I wanted to make sure I said it correctly, and I did. Because I said, hey, and I watched your face, and I think I should have noticed, but I said, hey, I would love to see you do a Pearl Jam piece. You've done the Eddie Vedder piece, you did the Boston, but I think, did that. And I said it, and I said on the show, I said, you've done Boston. I said, the only way up from Boston is to do an MSG piece. And you did this kind of look to the side, and you said, yeah, if they want to do something with me, they'll let me know. 4 days later, Pearl Jam announces that you have done a piece, and it was for Madison Square Garden, which is, listen, and Dan, I had no idea that you had ever done anything. You never told me nothing, so it was this kind of like weird coincidence. And I looked at my wife, and I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like, I should have played Lotto, because the odds of that are crazy, but MSG, in theory, to Pearl Jam, especially when you look at that tour, it was one of the first shows to sell out. It's kind of like, if you haven't seen Pearl Jam and MSG, you haven't seen Pearl Jam. This is a lore to MSG. So that's a big deal in the Pearl Jam community. And for the fact that you got it, and I've said this on the last show, so it's nothing that I'm saying out of tune. You're one of my favorite artists. I love your style. Always have. I have a lot of your pieces. It was huge to see the fact that those two came together. So when did you get approached to do that piece for Pearl Jam?
Well, let's see. When was the show meant to be? Was it March? It was meant to be, or something.
The Pearl Jam show from MSG was one of the first shows, I believe. Yeah, it was the end of March.
Yeah, because I mean, I must have worked on that before Christmas of that year. So I guess 2019 or something. Mm-hmm. I think generally, it's quite a few months ahead. And yeah, because the new album, I think, had been announced. Yeah, it must have been something like that.
Yeah, the new album was the first single came out in January of last year, and they had announced, they had hinted at the album, in like the year before, in 2019. So maybe, so it's
it was a good few months before. And yeah, I mean, of course, what an amazing poster to be asked to do. And I was really happy with the poster as well. Like, I think it's probably my favorite that I've done for Eddie / Pearl Jam. And, I kind of felt like I'd really hit the tone of what the album was about, and the band in general, because the piece was essentially about climate change, like how just the country's, the world's just screwed up a bit. You got this, like, the glaciers and like a polar bear in New York and stuff. And I thought I'm not often happy with my pieces, really, but that was one where I sort of thought, I spent a good amount of time on that. The details I wanted were in there. And I'd already been sent my copies of the poster as well. They turned up maybe a week before the show got cancelled. And I was really happy with the print job as well. And then started hearing about this thing called coronavirus. And, it was literally the week that the posters turned up when I think we were like, this isn't looking good, guys. And then then they said that they were going to postpone it. And it's weird because I think in my head I hadn't really even thought about at that time in March. I don't think I'd really thought this was what was going to happen. And I was like, well, stuff's going ahead. No one's cancelled anything yet. And then the world gets cancelled, So
Yeah. Well, I mean, Pearl Jam was definitely at the forefront of I think a lot of artists were nervous to be the first band to postpone, but I think Pearl Jam was definitely one of the first. Like, hey, listen, this unfortunately is.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, this isn't going to work. But yeah, no. So the one great thing about this print in general is, first of all, I love the gradient of orange in the sky. And the way that the highlights come from like the glaciers, and it's always the color gradient that you use. Like, you have an eye for like the way that you can separate colors that are extremely similar and still bring in detail that is extremely unique, and it's a style that that is unique to you, that like really pops, and it's just that Dan Mumford style. And this is just, it just rock and rolled and looked great. So when the show was postponed and you sat on these prints, and then you did an interview with me, and you knew about it. When did they approach you and say, hey, listen, we're just going to release these pieces? Like, did they ask for your permission, or was it kind of like, hey, we're just releasing these pieces?
Oh no, like it was, I think myself and I would presume all the other artists, happy to sort of do whatever the band and management wants to do with that sort of stuff. And they were just like, nothing's happening this year, so let's do something with the posters. And to me, that's a great idea, because that people want these posters. And I think possibly to have a poster for a show that didn't even happen makes it more special in a way.
Yeah. I mean, Pearl Jam had canceled a Raleigh show back in, I think it was 2016, to stand up for the rights. Like, North Carolina posted some weird laws about, doing some things that were inappropriate. So they canceled the show. And I was literally going to that show. So I have that print. It's up on the wall. I spent a lot of money on framing it. It's pretty wild. It's like an Egyptian themed print, but it's cool to look at it, because also it stands, like, it just brings me back to that moment of like, I was bummed out, but I also appreciate the band stood for something. And then like these prints you look at and be like, oh, it sucks. But well, think about all those times around that. Cause in years down the road, this is going to be something that like we tell our grandkids, and, and talk about this weird time of like being at home and no music and this craziness of shit. It's nuts. It's really nuts.
I think also like the fact that my poster basically depicts sort of post-apocalyptic New York just seemed kind of appropriate as well in the end.
Like, it's foreseeing something.
Yeah, maybe the water levels are going to rise that high in the next year anyway, and it's just.
Well, isn't it nuts that when they did these lockdowns, right? And you look at like all of these, like the Ravina or Rivera up in Italy, the one that like consistently gets traveled, that's extremely toxic. Like, they said after like 3 weeks of being on lockdown and not utilizing it, it was the cleanest the water's been in hundreds of years. And so if you look at like, if people started to slow down a little bit and just a little bit, like how it could really help things in general. So the tie-in is interesting, because I do know, speaking to Belly Race and speaking to some other artists that had done posters for the tours, like I guess Pearl Jam, they had said like, hey, make this and I don't know if they said this to you, but they had mentioned to them that like, hey, kind of do this as a climate change sort of theme to fit the album.
I mean, the theme was mentioned for sure. Like, I think that was just the main art direction, really.
No, that's awesome. And listen, I love it. I know a lot of people did. I know people are mentioning it in through the chat right here that they were excited they got one and that they loved it. So big things for this. 2 questions that came up. So before, I don't want to pass them up. One was, are you a football fan, and what club do you support?
No. I'm not at all. I couldn't care less about football. I tried so many times. I tried as a kid to play football. I tried as a kid to care about football because it was the dumb thing. I lived with several people who were huge football fans, and I would try and watch it with them. And when one of them would get angry at like the team losing, I'd be like, don't worry, it's not a big deal. And they'd be like, it is a big deal, Dan. And And then I just go to my room and yeah, I really tried, but I just cannot care about football. No.
I get it. Another question that came up, but it is interesting. People do take like, so now I've recently just got into football, soccer, however you want to put it. And like I've gone to watch some games, and like I've started to meet people that are like into it, and they're like, I mean, I thought I was crazy about like my sports locally. Like they're just some diehard nuts. I mean,
Oh yeah, especially in the UK, like
mm.
yeah, very very diehard.
Yeah. And then another question that came through was, have you ever thought of doing any of your bridges or any of any bridges as an art piece?
um, no, I don't know that. I don't know that would be in the spirit of what they
What it
were
was?
intended for. Um, but I've done plenty of other art pieces. They just don't have Eddie on a bridge.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, no. It's I don't think that's something that would ever happen. I think those pieces are sort of special for what they are, and
Sure.
they need to live on as limited things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, another question that was just text to me was, did last during the pandemic, was there any pieces that you had made for another band or an artist that you've been sitting on that unfortunately you can't do nothing with?
Yes. There's about three pieces for two bands, and I'll just say that they're on the same level as someone like Pearl Jam, maybe
Mm.
bigger even. Um,
Bigger than
and
Pearl Jam? You did the Beatles print?
yeah, I did. Yeah, they came back. They reformed just for me.
That's right.
Um, it's weird, but no. I did some stuff that I would say is I really, really love how these pieces came out, and the process was started for these pieces just before the pandemic hit, and I was like, "Do you want to continue?" And they basically both of these clients were like, "Yes, we'll do something with it." And I think one of them, they're sitting on it until that band can tour,
Okay.
which is fine. The problem I have is that I think that it might just get lost in the shuffle and never see the light of day. In which case, I will just push for something to happen with it, even if it's just art prints or whatever. And then the other one, I imagine that'll probably just come out as some sort of anniversary thing or something. I don't really know, to be honest. But
Mm.
needless to say, they are, yeah, there's three pieces that I did that were sort of like peak lockdown. I've got nowhere to go. I'm just spending all my time doing this, put a lot of time and detail into them, fully well knowing that the release of them was very much up in the air. But I do hope something happens with them, yeah.
So now I don't know how you artists get paid, and did it with those pieces? Did those pieces go to print, or were they not at print yet?
Not at print yet, no.
So it was your and they it was just your time, which is the most
Mhm.
valuable part of it, creating the pieces to put them through. That's got to be a financial burden on you as well, because I don't know, is it the way you probably, I don't know how money works, but did it hurt you financially not having those pieces released?
No, because they were all just paid. As
Oh,
in, yeah, they were kind of just. There's no point having print sales be a part of them when who knows when they'll even be produced. So it was so for me that's purely a thing where it's like I love how these pieces came out, and personally I want them to be out there because I think there's some of the best stuff I've done in the last few years.
wow.
Um, and just on that level, I want the artwork to be out there. And art prints might be made, and if they were made, I imagine I would get some. But if they're not, then it's financially, it's sort of like fine. My time was paid for,
Okay.
but it's always, in my career, there's probably only about 5 or 6 things that never come out. Um, One of them was for a movie, like it was a movie poster thing that they were going to put on the side of a building. You know how I've only seen this in LA, but where they do these like huge painted murals on the sides of
Side of a wall,
buildings.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They were going to do that with it, and then they didn't.
Wow.
And again, I got paid, but no one's ever seen it. And it's been like 5 years, and I sort of go, "Can I just show people this now? I don't know, like." it was for a franchise that's now long dead, So
It's like if we're almost playing what is it, like we're playing like figure the movie out 5 years ago, a franchise that's long dead.
yeah. Oh,
Oh, you
and they'll probably reboot it or something. So
oh,
yeah.
so this has definitely got to be a DC movie. Um,
It's yeah. No, I can't. I won't say, but
oh, okay, yeah.
it's the sort of thing where I probably could have known would care, but I'm pretty sure I've signed some NDA somewhere. So yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I totally understand. And it's interesting because I talked to another artist, which he's going to be coming on the show next month, and we were talking about these constant reboots of movies and
Mm,
how like he looks at his portfolio and he's basically done these like he's done so many different Batmans like at
yeah.
different
Right.
times, and he's like, well, this Batman's going to be the Batman that stays. Man, maybe this Batman's the Batman that stays, and now we have like 7 Batmans. But it's just like interesting how you consistently look at like how you're as people are doing art, like these reboots and how they're changing and
Mm.
how their art changes and stuff. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, I haven't really done that much stuff in the way of. I've done some Marvel movie stuff and a little bit of DC, but not enough that I'm fed up of it yet. Whereas I know some people have done so much of it and probably, like you say, done the reboots and then sort of that sort of thing. I take my time with it, so I won't get bored of it.
So let me ask you a question here. I hate saying that. I don't know why I keep saying this, and I've avoided that in so many interviews. For today, for some reason, I keep saying I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to avoid that. Next month, and they showed an image yesterday, the new Justice League or the reboot of the Justice League movie comes out.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if you're familiar with this. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah,
you're
very familiar. Yeah.
so I am like ecstatic. Like I'm a huge DC guy. Like
Hmm.
I'm hoping like that this opens the doors for like a true Batman movie with Ben Affleck. And
Hmm.
like I don't know, did you see the image of
I
Joker
did. Yeah.
yesterday? Dude, I was like, this is going down this rabbit hole of like, you're gonna tease me with something
Yeah.
of like, hey, this is what it could have been if you would have just let me continue doing my stuff, and then we're never gonna get anything from it.
Yeah. Oh, I have thoughts if you want them. Yeah.
Oh, I do. Listen, because I did you see the what was they had the trailer the other day of Stephen just beating the crap out of the
Mm,
ponies and
mm.
they're all like smashing to pieces. I'm like, this why couldn't we get this 2 years ago?
Yeah. So I'm the sort of person who I don't need my movies that are adaptations of something to be perfect. I think Marvel have done a fantastic job of doing that, and to be honest, it's they've adapted that into a cinematic thing very purely. Of course, they change things, but it's done so well. I don't think you really care. And then I think what happened with DC is they got Snyder involved, and some people hate what he does. Me personally, I kind of like my movies to be a bit big and dumb anyway. Like if you give me a big action movie and things explode and it looks pretty, I'm pretty happy. I can sort of forgive some of the narrative shortcomings that might bring with it. Um, and I thought Man of Steel was pretty good, actually. Oh, but Superman can't kill. He wouldn't do this. It's like, yeah, but this one did. Like, I don't really, I'm not really bothered. You've got the original Superman. That's that perfect, iconic Superman. They tried to bring it back with the weird Superman Returns one. That was
Yeah.
fine. Like, why not do this? Like, let DC be the weird, sort of slightly brutal superhero stuff. I don't know. So, me personally, I was on board with that. And then then they did the Superman versus Batman thing, and it's a messy film, but I kind of enjoyed it regardless.
I
You
definitely did
know,
too.
and then I thought Ben Affleck as Batman was like the beefiest, most brutal Batman ever, which I really liked.
I, I it's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought, listen, everyone has their different like takes on like which is a good Batman and what's this and
Mm,
what's that. I like Ben Affleck. Now, listen, I might have a little heart in it because being from Boston and
sure.
he's from Boston, this might be a little slight, but I really thought he did a good job of playing both Bruce Wayne and Batman equally clever together. And his voice, even though it went the dark, deep voice, like it was more realistic than like Christian Bale's. Like
Mm.
his Batman voice was god awful.
Do you know what? I enjoyed those Christian Bale films, but I never liked how Batman looked in those films. I thought he looked like kind of weedy. And then you get Ben Affleck, like the beefiest Batman that would destroy you. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the guy. That's the one I want.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I kind of the way I feel, I think it's really interesting what happened, because obviously the Justice League film originally came out. It was an odd film. It's a bit pathetic.
Yeah.
And I think what happened there is really they lost faith in what they had started to build. And then like, oh, let's get Joss Whedon and he'll make it all colourful and blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, that's not what people were liking. That's not why those films were doing well for them. I think they were doing financially quite well because they were a bit different to what Marvel was doing. And then you had Aquaman, which was fun but odd. And then I guess Wonder Woman's good as well. Like they all work together.
Yeah, Wonder Woman was really good. Aquaman was all right. It was just I just it felt very Marvel. Aquaman was the one I
Yeah,
was like, this is a very much a Marvel movie.
it's just weird. There's no vision there.
Yeah.
And weirdly, I think they should have just let Zack Snyder have his vision for 5-6 years, and then if they weren't liking it, get rid of it then. And the fact that they're now coming back round to it and saying, okay, no worries, yeah, here's some money, go and do it, make us some money because people really want this. And I think it could be pretty. I think it'd be quite good, but
Dude,
I don't know.
listen, I have next month. I have the date on my calendar. I have taken the whole day off. I have invested heavily in a home theater,
Mm.
where I am waking up whenever that movie comes out, and I am dedicating 4 hours to watch that movie. Because it's just I don't know. Like I love Suicide Squad. I thought the new Harley Quinn movie was really good. The new Wonder Woman movie.
I completely forgot about those films.
Yeah, those are
Oh,
those
man.
are darker films. Like those are
Mm.
very much darker films. And then the new the new Wonder Woman comes out, new Suicide Squad movie comes out in like 2 months, which
Mm.
is it's gonna be interesting because that's gonna be, we have a guy that was extremely successful with Guardians of the Galaxy now doing this, and now they're doing like HBO movies based on Suicide Squad members. So
Yeah.
it's I'm hoping this all comes. But then yesterday when they showed me like all these things, and I'm like, we're actually getting like Zack Snyder's version of Joker. I'm like, well, damn, I want Batman versus Joker. But then it's like we have his other Batman movie being filmed over in your neck of the woods with the
Yeah,
guy from Twilight.
yeah,
But then the trailer for that, I don't. Did you see the trailer for that movie? Like,
yeah.
dude, that's a violent looking movie as well. But it's
Yeah.
like also at a different time. But now they're also talking about they're bringing back the original Batman. What's his name? The one
Oh,
from the
Michael
80.
Keaton.
Michael Keaton's coming back
Yeah.
in the Flash movie, and now they're talking about doing a movie with him as like an older Batman for a Batman Beyond movie. It's like at some point, as much as I love Batman, you can only do so many Batmans before you're like, all right, like we can't have a Batman movie coming out every week.
I mean, I think what they're doing is exactly what Marvel's going to be doing in the next few years as well, which is making the cinematic world have multiple cinematic worlds. So
Mhm.
technically, every film that's ever come out can be part of the same thing, which is it's a smart way to do it. And if you care about that sort of stuff, it sort of ties it up in a neat bow somehow. And I think it's also probably smart for DC because they've been kind of struggling all over the place, not really knowing what they're doing. And this way, they've got like all these different versions of things coming out, and I guess whatever works, they'll just follow through with it.
Or
I
I
don't
could
know.
open up a rabbit hole like we're going down right now, where I guess the guy that did Batman Forever, I don't remember the director's name. He's like, well, actually, that wasn't the version of the movie I actually had in mind. And there's like 3 hours of uncut film because it was
Yeah,
actually supposed to be closer to an R rating, more darker. The Riddler was actually the main villain in the movie, not Two-Face. And it's like,
yeah.
I'm like, well, I kind of want to see that, but I wasn't a big Val Kilmer as Batman fan, but because that movie was goofy as hell.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I don't know. It's interesting. And talking about goofy movies, let's remove ourselves from
Sure.
DC. I have a film recommendation for you and
Mhm.
everyone watching that I really think needs the Dan Mumford treatment.
Okay.
There is a movie that came out recently. You can get purchased on iTunes. It was supposed to come out in theaters, and it is. I don't even know what kind of genre this movie is. I don't know how you would classify it. I would watch the trailer because it's going to intrigue you to buy it. It's called
Okay.
PG Psycho Gorman.
Oh, I this is on my list to watch. Yeah.
Okay, this needs to jump up to the top. Have you watched the trailer for this yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone listening and watching at home, that basically the premise of this movie is there is this demonic demon that was encapsulated in on planet Earth, and they all these demons look like something out of Power Rangers. And this little girl is digging a hole and finds this diamond of some sort that controls the demon, and the demon comes out of life. And the demon is controlled by this little girl, and this is a foul-mouthed demon who wishes death on everybody. And this little girl is controlling him, and it is the most ludicrous thing in the world. Now, I did watch it with my kids. I highly recommend not watching it with your kids.
I was gonna
This is
say it's violent,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, it is graphic, violent,
Okay.
crude. Yeah, this is the reason why Parents of the Year award was revoked and had to be sent back to the National Parent Association of America. So I lost that. But yeah, highly recommend that. But have you been what have you been binge watching over this last couple months?
Oh, do you know what? Just like not not anything in particular. I'm trying to think. We've sort of been going around watching different films, watching a lot of cooking shows. That's like a really sort of that's a way to calm down in the evening. Me and my partner, I will have dinner, just watch some people making food. There's something about that that's really calming, sort of to cap off the evening. Then some documentaries, a lot of Netflix documentaries. Haven't really got into a good TV show in a while, like a drama or anything. Been looking for something good like that, but I have a list. I just by the time it gets to like 10:30, I'm like, maybe just go to bed now. I can't be bothered, And also, I'm at the point where we've been doing this for so long now, where the daily routine is, get up, do some work, have dinner, watch a bit of TV, go to bed. Like it's just the same every day. The weekends are the same. So I think me and my girlfriend were sort of both in a situation where it's a bit like, I don't know if I want to watch more TV. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
There's so much as well. There's just so much. There's too much. So it actually becomes a bit overwhelming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it because the thing too is there's been a lot of shows that came out recently, like Stephen King's The Stand movie, Stephen King's The Stand TV show that came out.
Yeah,
where like
I completely didn't realize that was out, but I would quite like to watch that. Yeah,
that is it's good. It's good. I don't know if it's not something I'd put that in the bottom of your list. It's
that's
not
like the third attempt, right?
Yeah.
Like
And
that.
I feel like it's like it takes a while to get somewhere and then they rush it.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of like to the last episode and I'm like I have a lot of questions and I can't imagine they're going to answer them in 45 minutes.
Sure.
And I feel like it's kind of like how Walking Dead was. Like they had this slow build up, then they rushed it, and now they're doing a slow build up, and now they only have one season to answer all these questions. And it's it's that sad so that's a all right show. But I it's funny you say cooking shows because I've really gotten into like the Amy Schumer cooking show on the Discovery Plus app.
I don't know that at all.
Oh my God, her and her husband cook, and it's like her husband's trying to teach her to cook.
Okay.
And God, she is god awful at cooking, but it's like entertaining and like humorous in its own sense. Because like he'll make like food and then she was a bartender, so she'll make a mixed drink and they're utilizing what's in the kitchen. And she's like, and he's like, well, how do you measure that? She goes, well, it depends on how drunk I really want to be. And then she keeps, I don't know. So that's a clever one.
There's something about just putting something on in the background that you don't really have to pay much attention to. I think that's kind of the key, I appreciate a TV show like The Office or something where it's just it's just there, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to being able to do things. Back in the end of last year, a bit like you, we got a new TV, like a bigger TV. First time I'd got like a really nice TV in like 10 years or something, and that was nice, and got a little sound system, soundbar, and everything. And now it's sort of like, just watch The Office. Like not really utilizing it. I mean, we watched Wonder Woman 2 the other day. That was fine, and Tenet, that was alright.
It's. I'm waiting for that wow movie, like and it sucks too because like I'm a big cinema guy. Like I love going to the cinema. I love the experience of getting the ticket, you getting the popcorn, the overpaced popcorn. Like, dude, like here, I'm not joking. Like in my house, we ended up buying a professional popcorn machine. I
Amazing.
bought a
Yeah.
soda machine and we have a candy stand in the home
Yeah.
theater because it's just like well, first of all, it brings your family together, but it's also like I just missed it. Like I worked in cinema
Yeah.
for God since I was 12 all the way through college. And even in my adult years, like a buddy of mine was working at a theater. It's like, I need an assistant manager. I didn't need the money. I was like, I just kind of want to do it because I missed it. But yeah, I miss that experience. And there's so
Mm.
many movies that are, sitting on that, like, Ghostbusters and all these different things. It's crazy that we're not getting them. And it's like, when the hell, like James Bond has been postponed again and all these movies. And it's just like, when are we going to get, it's just
Yeah.
weird. Like more like Morbius than that vampire movie Marvel made that was just come out at the
Yeah.
beginning of last year. Well, hell, that's not coming out till 2022 now.
I kind
So
of
it's
I kind of feel like they mucked up things a bit with how they handled that because like yourself, I love going to the cinema. I'd go a couple of times a month at least, um, and that's probably the number one thing I miss doing outside of the home, right? That and traveling and seeing friends, obviously, but
sure.
the cinema was something that I really enjoyed as an experience. And yeah, I'd love going to see the brand new films and stuff. And we, like yourself, we tried to emulate that a bit at home, but it's never the same. Um, and I find it baffling that in the last like 10 months, we've had like maybe 2 or 3 big releases come out on like streaming at home. Wonder Woman, Mulan. I can't even think of anything else. I'm sure there's been a few, but
There was a Denzel Washington movie that came out last week with what's his name that plays the Joker, The Little Things or something. I haven't watched it yet, but I
right,
heard
right.
that's supposed to be. I don't know.
But the big blockbusters, the ones that
Yeah.
you're really expecting, and because like you say, there's so many that they've been sitting on, and I just find it baffling that they just decided not to release stuff, or like just release stuff through the various streaming platforms that would surely rocket up the people subscribing. I would have thought, but
Well, I
I'm
mean,
sure there's numbers to prove me wrong. I don't know.
well, Disney did with like Mulan. I mean, and Mulan wasn't like something people were jumping at the bits to get, but like they had it where you could purchase it for $30 or rent it for 72 hours, and
Yeah,
you know,
like you should have been able to get that with just getting Disney Plus in the first place, I
yeah.
think. But yeah, let me pay 15 quid, $20, whatever. And I find it weird they haven't done that much at all. But
Well, it's interesting. There was a theory that came out, I guess, yesterday because originally the Black Widow movie that Disney's still sitting on
mm,
originally was supposed to come out before Endgame came out. So could you imagine that we had gotten we got the first part of the series, he, snaps the fingers, everyone's dead. Then we get the Black Widow movie, the coronavirus hits, and we're like, wait a minute,
man,
where the fuck's part two? What the hell? Could you like? I think that would have. I think there might have been protesting for that one. Like they couldn't
that would have
settle that
been
one.
that would have been kind of amazing marketing as well for them though, if like Endgame didn't come out until after the pandemic.
Oh my god, yeah.
But yeah, no,
They would.
I want everything that should. I want the stupid Morbius Jared Leto vampire film. I want to
Hmm.
see that, and I want to go to the cinema to see it. But
Dude, I want to put my Ghostbuster overalls on and I want to see the new Ghostbusters movie and I want to feel like a kid again. Like
yeah,
that's something I'm excited. The James Bond movie, like I want to.
yeah,
You're sitting on it. It's done. It's completed. It's. I mean, and the crazy thing is, like, they're filming new movies right now.
yeah,
Like
for
they're
sure.
filming the new Batman movie. They're filming a couple new Marvel movies. They're filming like the Star Wars, the new season of Mandalorian. So it's not like they're not filming things. It's just like we're gonna sit on this
Yeah,
until theaters. And the sad thing is, like Regal Cinemas and AMC locally, I don't know how it is over by you, but
bad.
they've been, yeah, dude, they're closed.
Yeah,
Um, I'm a huge Alamo Drafthouse fan. I'm not sure if
sure.
you
Yeah,
should,
yeah,
you probably know what that is. But yeah, so, and they have it open by us. And what you could do is you can rent the cinema out for like $200 and then
yeah.
watch a movie in there. And, me and my wife have contemplated like, we'll do that. And we can bring like, a close family for like a night
Mm.
out and watch a movie on there. Cause yeah, it's just, I miss the soda that comes from the machine and the popcorn and the refills. And then you get out of there and you're like, I shouldn't have had that second bucket of popcorn. I shouldn't have eaten 3 bags of Twizzlers, but it is what
But
it
it
is.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That's right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I hope we'll see some of that return this year. I think we will probably by summer actually, but It's just sort of in what capacity it returns, and it's not going to be like all of a sudden it's all back. It's going to be different, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's at some point where it's yeah. I mean, we have to, I guess, kind of move and groove to what's going on and kind of see how we're going to adjust to the that part of things. Like how are we going to be able to live on with things? Because I mean, it's very hard to see these businesses completely, close down because they can't be open, and it's sad. So hopefully they can use the social distancing protocols to work so that they can open up and knock on wood, we can start seeing some of those movies.
Yeah, I think they have to open stuff up because otherwise you will just have like this huge, even bigger economic crash. Where businesses just won't be able to start up again slash even exist. Like no one's opening a new business, a new shop right now.
No.
So I mean, it's really sad. Like around where we live, there's just empty shops now. And if we go for a walk, we'll just be like, oh, there's that cafe that opened a year ago, just empty inside, and people are renovating stuff, but nothing's going to open. Do you know what I mean? So you might have these places ready to go, but there's nothing in them.
Yeah, I mean, for in my business where we do a lot of new construction on things, what's happening is the businesses that are being successful that were able to utilize like to how to make money last year, they're just remodeling the business they have to kind of accommodate like what they're doing. Like a lot of businesses that are opening were open that are doing a lot of like to go orders food wise in the restaurant business. Like we're just upgrading their network side of things so they can accommodate that influx of bandwidth coming through. So it's interesting to see how people are adjusting, or like Target and Walmart who've become multi-billionaires because of their being staying open during the pandemic and being one of the few places that you can get everything. They're just remodeling their stores because they have to spend money. So it's interesting. But it's sad for like the small mom and pop places that are affected the hardest. Cause some of my favorite pizza places locally have closed. Some of my favorite restaurants closed, and, the theaters closed. It's real sad, but I don't know. We'll move on, but let's get off sad topics. And I want to talk about, a few of the most recent prints.
Okay.
One thing, this is crazy to me because Justin Hampton was on last week. We talked about his Kiss print. If you haven't heard that interview, it's part of our catalog of old episodes. And Kiss didn't really officially license or allow screen prints up until I don't know a couple months ago.
I believe
It was.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because they, Kiss in a marketing scheme, they're very anal about how things go out, even though they have like Kiss condoms and Kiss underwear and stuff. So, but for some reason, posters, they're kind of like, hey, we're going to hold off on this. Because if you went to a Kiss concert, you didn't get a screen print. You got one of the pictures of them with the tour dates on it. Now they open up the floodgates a little bit, and they're allowing these top end, poster artists to make prints. And you put out one, which is dude, it's beautiful, man. I really dig this print.
Thank you.
Like it is Kiss to the max. Like it is like the whole
good.
It screams Kiss. Now, are you a Kiss fan by any chance?
I mean, no.
Okay,
but
well, I mean,
like not in a. I don't have nothing against them. Like like they're a band that's always been around in my lifetime. I like the aesthetic. I like the look. Not sure I like Gene Simmons whenever you sort of hear him talking sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like he seems quite arrogant, but why not? He's Gene Simmons and he's in Kiss, right? So fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If I had the money and the outlook from what Kiss brought in, I guess I'd be a little arrogant too. And
he's a very, very good businessman.
Oh, dude, he is marketing to the T.
Actually, I take that back. Maybe I admire Gene Simmons. Actually, I don't know. Either way, like I Kiss are a fun band, and like I think being asked to do something for them was pretty cool. Like I was definitely on board, like 100%. And just sort of my first sort of thought process was it has to be something to do with the aesthetic of that band. I mean, of course it does, right?
Yeah.
And the demon character, like that is, for me, that's like the best bit about Kiss. I think the other guys' outfits are not quite as iconic. They don't really match. Do you know what I mean? Like I always thought it was weird how it's like you got the demon, the Star Child, and I can't remember the other ones actually.
You have Catman, you have Star Child, you
Catman.
have Ace for. I mean, listen, you know, they have Catwoman. Why can't we have a Catman? But
But do you know what I mean? Like it always, to me, it always seemed like they were all just sort of came in from separate rooms. Was like, this is what I'm going to be called. This is what I'm going to be called. They didn't think about if it actually worked as a group.
oh,
But the demon, you're just like, well, that's the most metal thing ever. And then you got the Catman. Um, so I always thought that was really weird. So when you asked me to do a poster, it's like it has to be based around the demon.
yeah.
And I did propose the idea of doing other posters based around the other characters,
Uh-huh.
and I don't think that'll happen because I don't. I mean, I just don't know that there would be as much interest, really. Maybe there would be. I'm not sure.
So you're telling me the Catman variant is probably not going to happen?
I mean, I like the idea of that as someone who would want to push through that idea. Like, I like the idea of him over the top like this.
Just kind of
But
like perched up on like something, just like sitting all cute and stuff. And the guy's like,
maybe I don't know.
how do we fight this?
But the thing is, Kiss fans probably would want that actually. So
Kiss fans remind me, like Pearl Jam fans remind me a lot of Kiss fans, like where you can just put Pearl Jam on about anything. You could put Kiss on just about anything, and it sells.
yeah, and I think that's probably why Kiss finally decided to do posters. It is weird how that was like not happening for so long. But because, like you say, like Kiss literally do kind of anything have their name on it. I think I've seen Gene Simmons himself walking around like his collection of Kiss stuff, and you're just like, holy crap! Like there's so much stuff there.
There is a YouTube video of him in his house in Los Angeles. I think it's Los Angeles, where he's got this space. It's probably as big as my house of everything Kiss associated.
That must be what I've watched. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, he goes, this is a product that didn't make it out. It's like the Kiss, I don't know, like mini fridge, and it was like his tongue was like the door handle or something. It was like the weirdest. But the thing is, like, he's like, you know, and it's wild. I mean, the damn man owns the money symbol. Like he found out like there was a trademark not against the money symbol. He's like, all right, well, I'm gonna buy that and then start charging people to use it. It's I don't know, it's crazy, but he's a smart marketing person, and that's
Very
what
much
Kiss
so.
is. So how did that come to you? Like, did the band approach you, or was it a licensing company that said, hey, listen, we got this idea, we think you'd be perfect for it?
That was through Bottleneck Gallery.
Okay.
So they work with various people on different licenses and stuff, and Joe, who runs Bottleneck, he kind of just said, hey, do you want to take a run at this? And that was the first time they were doing stuff with Kiss, just to see how it went. And I think they've done a few things now as well as mine, because I think it was fairly easy getting it approved. There wasn't much back and forth or anything really needed changing, and I'm not that surprised really, considering what they do put out. I think as long as aesthetically it sort of has the elements of Kiss in it, I think you're probably good to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm looking at it now. I mean, first of all, I'd love that. I really want to see the holographic one. I didn't, unfortunately, that thing sold out before I was even
I
able to
haven't
press
seen
pay.
it yet. I don't have my copies yet, so
You don't even have your copies. Oh,
no. I'll get them
yeah.
probably in next month. Yeah.
Oh, but it's just the details on it, like the silhouettes of their faces and like the mirror sides of things, and then like the demon coming across, and then like that it screams Dan Mumford, it screams Kiss. It is a beautiful piece.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
it really is. But I mean, dude, I don't. Like I said this last time, I don't know if I've ever looked at one of your pieces and been like, I don't like it. Like all of your pieces, it's just they all, like I said, they all fit in this world that you created. That everything kind of flows together. Like I could see that Kiss piece, like happening down the road from the Pearl Jam and
sure.
global warming piece. Like everything's just happening in the same world. You did do another piece that I really enjoyed, and I'm not a big Grateful Dead fan by any means, but the piece you did for the Grateful Dead, and it came out the beginning of the year, I believe.
Yeah. That was also Bottleneck. Yeah.
Oh, dude, like there's just something like magical about that piece.
Thank you.
When you get a piece like you get licensing like the Grateful Dead, and there's so much Grateful Dead stuff out there. How did you come up with the concept behind that piece?
So I did one for them maybe 2 years ago, and it was probably one of my first ones that was an art piece for a band that wasn't a gig poster, if you will. So like just a sort of commemorative thing. And I approached that much like I would any gig poster, and I sort of put the name of the band at the top and stuff, and it was okay. It was like it was basically some skeletons on motorcycles riding through the desert. Okay, so nothing that crazy, but it fits the Grateful Dead ideology or whatever.
Sure.
And then I sort of thought, well, why don't we have like one of those bike riders um, get into that shrine finally? Like he's sort of been traveling through the desert, and he's got to the shrine, because it's I mean, it's slightly different in that the bike riders were skeletons in the first one, and this guy's not a skeleton. But hey, maybe he found his humanity on the way. I don't know.
That's a good story. That could be a movie. I don't know.
There you go. But I just like the idea of him sort of getting to this shrine for the Grateful Dead. And it's got the little statues of the bears around it, and yeah, I actually tried something a little bit different with the sort of the light beam coming down through it. I mean, it's not that different to what I would normally do, but it's a little bit harsher in the way I've lit things, and yeah, I thought it worked quite well actually. And then we did the glow in the dark version as well, which I also haven't seen that yet either. So yeah, no, it was a really fun one, and that was one I did kind of mid-pandemic last year, actually around August or something, and it just sort of got held back a little bit till the start of the year.
And now this piece, how much time do you put in a piece like this?
Um, that's probably 5 days. That's Monday to Friday, I'd say.
Wow.
Maybe a bit less sometimes. It really depends. Like that's one where it was a little bit more complicated, and I think like I actually had to draw the piece, and then that light beam going through it was kind of like, I can't really explain it, but that light beam wasn't there, so you then had to sort of separate the bits out of it and invert it a bit and stuff. It was a little bit more complicated than usual.
Wow, no, it is stunning. Like I said, not a Grateful Dead fan, but first of all, I love the story of like how it ties in a piece that you did previously. That so if maybe
Yeah.
you didn't even know that. So now also it intrigues people like if they own this piece, well now you got to own the other piece. So now good luck going find that.
Yeah, I mean, I always try and do that where I can, in a way. Like if I'm doing something that relate, I mean, it's like the Eddie Vedder triptych, like the three bridges. That was never originally intended to be a triptych, but then we did a second one, then a third one, and then I did another one where it was still him walking, but it was horizontal and not vertical. And that fourth one is me sort of being like, well, this one still connects. It's still him walking. It's a slightly different one,
Yeah.
And if I'm working on something for, let's say, a band, I've done a few album covers for bands where actually I recently completed one for a friend's band, and it's fun because we sort of put little things in there that reference back to previous album covers that I did for them, and I like stuff to be in there for people to find.
Sure.
I don't think many people do. I think a lot of the time it's me that knows, and that's it. But
Well, that's clever now because now I'm gonna have to go through your previous artwork that you've done multiple for and be like, is there a connection? Is it? I'm
yeah,
gonna be doing like the Da Vinci Code of Dan Mumford. I'd be like pulling things through and running around Europe trying to find out decipher everything.
I mean, like the previous Pearl Jam one, which was the overrun sort of statue and stuff. Like in my head, that's the same world as the second Pearl Jam one. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like nature has taken over there, and nature's taken over here, but in a different way. So if I were to do a third one for Pearl Jam, I would theoretically want to do the same sort of thing again.
Yeah.
So you could have this triptych of nature versus a city or something.
Yeah, and maybe if you did one and you're not telling me about it, maybe that third one that you're sitting on is probably joking.
That would,
But
yeah.
no, Yeah, it's dude, it's really cool how you're doing that because the more this, like I said, I've talked to you before about things and going around round two with you and looking at your work, and I really dug deep into it the other night, looking at some previous things, and I was seeing that connection. It's clever that you actually put that much thought into it, that there is that bridge between things, that it makes sense, and it just shows that you care about your craft and that you care about what you're putting out there, that it means something to you. So it's not like,
Yeah,
all right, well, this is just going to be a polar bear in New York City for the end of the world, or well, this is just Paul Revere with a moose. It's actually like this world you're creating, and that's stunning, and it's something I appreciate, and I thank you for doing that because it's just meaningful. It means that like the things I own and the things that are up on the wall and that you're creating are meaningful in a way that it all comes together.
yeah. Thank you. No, I always try and do something like that. If I'm doing a second piece that somehow connects to something previously, there'll always be something. Nearly always.
Well, that's amazing. And then, we already talked about you did the puzzle, which listen, I'll own a lot of your stuff. I will never own a puzzle again. That is hell for me. But for people who love puzzles, they're out there. You also had you had a GI Joe, the Cobra Commander box and then I guess they made the figure based off your draw.
Right.
Oh, look at that right in your hand.
Yeah, I've got it beside me. Yeah.
Oh, dude, listen, that is awesome.
Yeah. No, that
So,
was good. Yeah.
like when you got the figure, like was it like kind of like, because I mean, we grew up at the same time where action figures were like, you that was gold back then. Did you was it like kind of like weird, or like like what was it feeling like when you pulled that action figure up based off your artwork?
Um. Well, I mean, they designed the figure first. To be honest.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I know. And then I created the artwork around their design. But either way, it's still pretty amazing to do. Like for me, GI Joe was a big part of my childhood. That sort of, I don't know, 8 to 12-year-old sort of time period. I had a lot of GI Joes. So, and the fact I got to do Cobra Commander as well, like one of the big ones, that was pretty special. That was a really, really, it was a special job to work on. That meant a lot to me. And I think, before I started the job, I spoke to the guy, Sean Kenny, who was sort of spearheading everything. And I think, I think he could tell that it was something that meant quite a lot to me, because it was a real special job to do. And I kind of hope to be able to do more stuff like that, be it for kind of any of those sort of toys, like, He-Man or whatever. Because they just sort of spark that little something in your brain, from
I,
when you're a kid.
yeah, I'd love to see. So you did the Resident Evil print.
Yeah.
I'd love to see like the main villain on that. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but like that turned into an action figure because that was like a really cool piece.
Oh, you mean the tyrant,
Yes,
the big, yeah, yeah, yeah.
that would be really cool. Now I don't know if you've ever done a piece for this, but now I was thinking about this. I watched the movie last night for the first time, and God, 10 years. It's one of my favorite movies. You never did anything for Kill Bill, did you?
Hang on. Yes.
You did.
Yeah, it was one of my first sort of movie posters back in 2015, 16,
Oh,
maybe.
geez, I'm gonna have to go down a rabbit hole to find this now.
Yeah, it was the end of it was a scene from the end of the first volume when they're in the garden having a sword fight.
Oh, I'm
Um,
gonna have to. Now you have me Google searching this because I was gonna be like, this would be a good thing for you to
yeah, I haven't done
do.
anything for the second one, the second volume.
Oh, son
But
of a bitch! You're gonna this whole wow, holy shit, dude! How do I not know about this? Because I
I
was
mean,
just
that was quite a long time ago. That was kind of before I started doing gig posters again. That was that was sort of my transition period time to doing more sort of pop culture stuff. So that
yeah,
was one of my first ones. Yeah.
it looks like there's two versions. There's like a black and gray one with like red for the blood
Yeah. Yeah.
splatter,
Yeah.
and then there's like a blue one that
Yeah.
doesn't show blood splatter.
Original one. Yeah.
Oh God, this is gonna. My wife's gonna hate me because I'm gonna have to find this now.
I've always wanted to do another one though. The problem I had was that I wanted to do volume two, but she doesn't there's no sort of really good duel moments in the second one. She has fights, but they're not quite.
There's not that pullback.
No, there's a fight in a trailer.
There's a fight in the trailer. She pulls her eye out.
Right. I was going to do that, and I actually mocked something up, but I was like, a trailer is not a good setting for this. And then
No.
you could do something with Bill himself from the end, but it just, again, the setting wasn't quite right. So I haven't found the right way to do it yet.
Or what about with her in the training with the Shylone? Because that has like the background of like I think they're in China, Tokyo, but that with like the stairs and.
Do you know what? I think the reason I didn't do that is because someone else had already done it.
Son of a
bitch. And I was even though technically I had done it first with the other one, it was like the same sort of composition. I was like, well, I can't in good faith create this piece knowing that someone's kind of done the same concept already. That's always quite important to me. I always make sure to have a quick Google to see if anyone's done the same idea. And even if they have, then I need to make it drastically different to some extent, yeah.
So, all right. So we're going to start wrapping this up, but I need to know a few things. And one, we're going to be doing a poster giveaway. I'll talk to you, Dan, later about which one it's going to be and figure that all out. But we'll just stay tuned to the Instagram page, a part of the podcast, and also on the Facebook page. We're going to have an announcement of how we're going to do that later on. But when you look back at 2020 and the weird year it was and everything like that, is there a piece that you did for 2020 that really is going to be like the piece that you're most proud of going forward from the pandemic?
Okay. So to do this, I'm going to have to go into my work folder to look at what I have in there because I can't remember what I've done in the last year because everything sort of gets a little bit mucked up, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Like it's all kind of all over the place. Unfortunately, I think one of my favorite ones is probably one of the ones I can't even talk about. Yeah.
Now, and this is one that potentially could get released.
Oh yeah. So potentially the world will see this at some point, and that's great. Do you know? Actually, no. There is a piece that I really did like, and that was for it was for an online game called Legends of Runeterra. Right.
Okay.
So it's not at all what you'd expect me to choose, but the piece itself, I put a lot of really nice sort of coloring through it, and I recorded the whole process as well as a time lapse. So I've got this up on my website in the video section, and it's like an hour and a half long time lapse of me creating this piece. And I think there's just something special about it because I captured that process. And I was also just really happy with how it came out. It's not something I would normally do, capturing the whole thing. And I don't know, I can't really put my finger on it, but it was a good piece. That sort of reminds me of being back in lockdown. Not that was a good thing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, it's just you always, like I have my prints in my room to remind me of moments, whether good or bad or things. It just brings me back, and that will be that piece. Let me just roll through the questions, make sure no one had anything else. Sure. Someone says the world needs a Mumford Billy Strings print. Are any in the works? Wink if is so. I know you can't say laugh out loud.
I can't even answer that. I don't know who Billy Strings is.
I don't know.
Is that a musician? Are they a band? I feel like I need to Google that really quickly.
Watch, it's probably going to be some guy out of his basement. It's like, just as he's like, hopefully this will intrigue something.
Really strange. Okay, it's an American guitarist.
Okay,
they're from Michigan and they're 28.
This is definitely some guy. We never know.
I'm really sorry. That happens quite a lot, I find, specifically with American musicians. There's quite a lot of American guitarists / country musicians that you just sort of hear the name one day and go, why are they in the news? They did what? I've never heard of these people before. Like there was one recently, and he said he used a bad racial word.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of the guy before. And I was like, who even is this guy?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know.
So
Um,
I'm maybe Billy Strings is really good, and I will happily do a poster for him. I just don't know who he is yet.
and then also, you have Sky recommends watching WandaVision, Mondo, and Twilight Zone.
Okay, that's that's my girlfriend.
Oh,
She's helping me. She's reminding me of what we've watched because my memory is that bad.
is it?
So yes, we've been watching the Twilight Zone, the second series of that, WandaVision, and the Mandalorian. Thank you, Sky.
Oh man. Oh, well, listen, those are good recommendations. I have not watched WandaVision yet.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
I've heard the first three episodes are hard to get into, and then it
It's
just picks
different.
up.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's sort of. I mean, you've probably seen the promo stuff, how it's like in black
Oh
and
god,
white
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, yeah. So it doesn't veer away from that much for the first few episodes, but you sort of see what's going on, and it's just so well done. And I think the
Oh
fact, the Marvel, well, not Marvel, Disney, and the stuff below them, they've got so much money now that they can put into these shows, and they're creating stuff on a level that is just sort of way out there, right?
yeah,
And uh, obviously, The Mandalorian is a pretty spectacular looking show, and WandaVision is equally well done. I imagine the new Captain America, not Captain America, Falcon and the Winter Soldier thing. I imagine that will also just look like a film, but across a series.
yeah,
And I actually think they're kind of bringing a new level to that stuff,
sure.
which is tough because a lot of studios will not have that backing. And also, the way they film The Mandalorian with these sort of, have you seen this? These sort of
Yeah,
special 3D rooms.
yeah, it's crazy.
Um, I was reading about that the other day. Like, I think there's only like 4 or 5 of these studios that can do that right now. There's not many, right? And I imagine that Disney have them on lockdown. So,
Yeah, Mickey Mouse has got the deep pockets, that's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So
Well,
there
Dan,
you go.
we have finished round two.
Okay, cool.
I think. Is there anything else left that you think the world needs to know that will educate them on the greatness that we all know as Dan Mumford?
Well, thank you for that. I don't think so. No, I think we covered most things. Yeah.
I think so.
Um,
I think so. I feel it.
I mean, just look at my Instagram for work that I'm doing. That's about it, really. I haven't got
Yeah.
that much more to share at the moment. There's not like there's any fun events coming up or anything.
Well, my prediction, let's see if I can predict something from this one, because the last show, for some reason, I knew about this. And
mm,
my mind put me the way. I feel as though this year we might get, and this is not like anyone's told me this, but I feel we will get a Foo Fighters Dan Mumford print.
oh,
Is what I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling. I feel like that's a bit, and you had mentioned a band on the same level as Pearl Jam, maybe
oh,
bigger,
right. Yeah.
maybe a Rolling Stones. We will see.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
But
Well, we'll
otherwise,
see.
listen,
I can't say anything.
yeah, I know. But I said I did see a wink. No, I'm joking. I listen. I really appreciate your time. I love your work. I think
Thank
once
you.
again, you're one of the top artists in the game. I love what you do. I love the
Thank you.
stuff you put out. I bought the Terminator print last year. You do some amazing stuff. Yeah, dude, appreciate your time. And
No
I
worries.
guess we'll have to wait till we go round three. When I find out in 4 days that you did a Pearl Jam print that we have no idea about. But
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
until that time, check out Dan Mumford on Instagram. He's got his page on Facebook that has a lot of his fans that follow through. So if you're a fan of Dan Mumford, check that out. Also, you can go to his website, which was it danmumford.com?
Yeah, it's dan-mumford.com.
Check it out there. And then he's got his Kiss print, which I believe is all sold out. But you have other prints coming out, which
I'll have copies of that at some point.
sweet. So until next time, until round three, I'm Anthony. That's Dan Mumford. And you have just tuned into the Touring Fan Live.
Thank you.